only thing I will say, and you know this about me already, is like, do not go for a virtually voiced audiobook. No
Yeah.
audiobook is better than a virtually voiced one. Listeners really, 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 really don't like it. And there's a legitimate fear that when you do that, you are feeding them your book that they can then take throw into their machine learning stuff and steal your book
Mm-hmm.
and put it, to their own AI stuff. So it's not good for anybody. It's harmful for the community, and you won't get a nice product out of it. So anything's better than a virtual voice book. If you want an audiobook made, it's not as scary as you think. It might be more affordable than you think.
Welcome to Raising Baby Authors. I'm Cassia, your host, and a brand new writer. If you feel overwhelmed and lost about this whole writing thing, you're certainly not alone. Join me while I pester my author guests for writing advice and find out how they do it. Because if they could, then why not you? It truly takes a village to raise an author, so let me share my village with you. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the second season of the Raising Baby Authors podcast. I have a very special guest for you today. I know I usually interview authors, but I've always wanted to interview this person because I've met her at an event, and she had a workshop that was amazing, and I really wanted to share everything that she said. So we are having an audiobook narrator today. Welcome, Samantha Norbury. Hi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me. I know you're very busy, you work a lot, and you work in this room a lot and probably
Yes, I
want to
do.
get out.
It's my happy place. It's fine.
Well, thanks so much for joining me. So, we're going to be winging it today because,
Sounds
I've
good.
never had an audiobook narrator. But I think the first question is kind of universal for everyone, whether you're an author or any other profession. So, tell our listeners about your journey. Like, how did you decided to be an audiobook narrator and what it took?
Sure. So I've been like a lifelong actor. I was like 4 years old when I declared to the world, like, I'm going to be an actress. I knew I always loved it. So I spent my whole childhood and teen years and young adult life doing theater and acting. And then I hit a point in my life where I was like, I'm not going to make it. This is not going to happen for me. And so I sort of set that dream down, and I got like a normal job, and I had kids and a family. And, I always felt like that part of me missing. But you do what you got to do. And then when I had my second baby, I was talking to a friend about how I really missed reading. I was like, books have always been such a big part of my life, and there's just no time now with 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, have you tried audiobooks? And I was like, no, like I like to smell books. Like I just want that. I don't think that's for me. And she was like, trust me, just try it. And I was like, well, I guess I could like knit and listen to a book. That might be kind of cool. So I tried an audiobook, and like that was it. Like that changed my life completely. I listened to it, and not only was I completely enthralled and I loved it, but it was like it was so clear to me instantly that they were acting, these narrators. They weren't just reading books. I mean, it was a whole performance, and I could feel myself getting anxious when the heroine was about to start a battle. And I was like, how are they doing that? That's amazing. And I was like, well, I wonder if I could do that. Like, maybe it's not too late. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could find this could be my outlet for my acting and my books. And like, maybe this could be my thing. And this was in 2019. So I was really looking into it. And then 2020 happened, and we all know how that went. And then I ended up moving from the US to the UK. And it was like this big fresh start for my whole family. I was like, what I really want to do is get into audiobooks. I can't shake it. It's been like a couple of years now, and I just can't shake it. So I got vocal coaching. I learned not only how to train my acting to go from like facial expressions into my voice, and how to record specifically for audiobooks. So I did a bunch of coaching. I took a lot of online classes. I learned how to be an audio engineer, because you have to have that full skill set. So I spent a year studying hard before I ever submitted my first audition. Not every narrator, that is not everyone's journey. This was just mine. I felt a lot of pressure to get it right out of the gate, because the idea of messing up somebody's book was like mortifying to me. I was like, I don't want to do it before I'm ready. So yeah, I did my first audition, and I got it, and I was like, well, okay. And then I did another audition, and I got that one, and I was like, okay, I think we're onto something here. And then it just sort of took off from there. And then I continued to get coaching like once a quarter, to continue sort of expanding my skill set, learning new accents, learning more business stuff. And yeah, it just went from there. And I've just been really, really fortunate to work on some really great projects and meet the best people. And audiobooks just became like my whole world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand the love for audiobooks for sure, because I love audiobooks myself.
Yeah.
I have friends who, for the reasons that I understand, cannot like listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
It's completely valid. They cannot focus. They have
Yeah.
to rewind all the time. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But I just like I couldn't live without audiobooks. Right now, for example, I have issues with my vision because of the pregnancy and I can barely
Oh.
work. And then after work, I don't have leftover vision to actually read. So
Mm.
all I do is audiobooks now. I literally just listen to audiobooks all the time, and that's amazing. I love it.
They're so good. I mean, it really is like a movie. It's just, and what's really cool is like when you read, you tend to like skip over words, and that's just totally normal. We all do it. But when you listen to an audiobook, like you get every one of those words. It is just right there. And it's so immersive. And especially now as like duet and multicast is becoming more popular. Audiobooks are it for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I will have more questions about the duet and the dual narration
Sure,
later,
yeah.
but just like from to establish you are self-employed, so you're like freelancing it.
Yeah.
It's not an employment situation.
No, yeah. I'm fully freelance and most narrators are. I mean, the closest you get to like working with somebody, I guess, is if you were to have an agent, which isn't really like a lot of voiceovers do, but for narrators, it's not as much of a thing. So we're freelance with indie authors and we're also freelance with publishers. So they just contract us out for per project.
Okay, so you can work
Yeah.
through a publisher and you can also work with an author directly
Oh yeah.
if they want.
Yeah, like this month I'm working with two publishers and two indie authors. So I'm pretty 50-50 with how I do it. And I think it's great. It's really nice. I like working directly with indie authors and I like working with publishers too. So it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned how many things you're working on this month, and that sprang up a question right away. So how long does it take to record an audiobook, and like how many can you do in a month?
Okay, so that's going to vary so much from like narrator to narrator, and also that it varies from like genre to genre, and it depends on how long the book is. Like if it's a 4-hour book, I can record that in a couple of days. But if I'm recording a 30-hour long book at the minute, that's going to take me
Wow.
substantially longer. But it's a duet, so I'm only doing half that. So like if it's solo narration, it'll take longer. If it's a dual or duet, that's half my time gone because the co-narrator is taking that bit. I'd say on average, like a professional narrator who's been doing it for a while, it takes about 2 hours to record 1 hour of audio. Just because we
Mhm.
will be like, oh, I want to say that slightly differently, and we'll go back and redo it, or we fumble and make mistakes, and maybe have to look up a word or something like that. So it takes about 2 hours to record 1 hour of audio. It can certainly take longer than that if it's a newer narrator or if the narrator has dyslexia or something like that, it can just take longer. But typically 2 to 1. But then the whole audiobook process itself, like it might take you a week to cast your audiobook, and then it takes the narrator maybe a week to prep the audiobook, and then it will take them the 2 to 1 ratio to record it, and then it goes to a proofer, and then it might take them 1 to 2 weeks to proof it, and then you get it back and you have to fix your mistakes. That can take a couple days, and then it goes to the editor and they master it, and that can take another like week or two. So the whole process can, it can take easily a month. It just depends. It depends on how long the book is. And something like an epic fantasy with a bunch of made up names and like made up languages, so that is more taxing, and because they're not written in the way we speak casually. So we have to really focus and we might fumble a lot more. So those can take a lot longer than say just like a rom-com that has like 4 characters versus
Mhm.
like the 200 character fantasies. It depends on so many things. So it's a hard one to answer, but that's kind of like a rough idea, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see. Roughly 2 hours for 1 hour of the book. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. You say that the different genres are taking different amounts of your time. Do you have like a favorite genre?
I don't, because I narrate like across all genres, and they all have things about them that I really like. So it's hard. My favorite genre to read is definitely fantasy. Like I'm a diehard romantasy girl forever. I absolutely love it. And I love recording it too because I get really into the stories, and they tend to have a lot of emotional character arcs that I can get really lost in. And I think that's great. But then I also really like doing cozy books because they just make me feel good. Like they make me feel really nice. I thoroughly enjoy them. They're nice and easy to record. And you kind of walk away from that being like, I'm going to make someone feel good. And that feels good. So those are nice. And I love them all. And I did like a nonfiction one about postpartum depression that is really close to my heart. And I feel so proud of that because I know that's really going to help people. And so I like them all. I like them all.
Oh yeah, I might have to look up the one about the postpartum depression because knowing my brain, I expect something to happen, and
It
I
is
need to be
just
prepared.
fascinating. It's really fascinating. Like, even if you don't have postnatal depression, it's still just fascinating to know how our brains work and how our bodies work. And what's really cool about this actually is that there's a lot of meditation that we do throughout it. And then at the end, we put all the meditation stuff at the end so that you can listen to them as often as you want and just sort of do these like mindfulness practices, which I think is so cool because you don't have to like
Oh,
pay for like a monthly subscription like you would with like Calm or something. You can
exactly.
just listen and it's all right there. It's just, yeah, it's just nice to be able to help in that sort of way.
Okay, yeah. I am definitely writing down the name of that book because I'm gonna look it up after we record for sure. Yeah, I haven't yet read or listened to any of the like what to do when you're expecting or whatever books. And people told me not to do that. So I'm like, okay,
it's
I'll wing it.
yeah, I mean, you'll be just fine.
Okay, well, you already actually mentioned the steps that need to be done in order to produce an audiobook, starting with an audition. The last step I forgot. I think let's go just in short, step by step. Like, what does an author need to do to just like start with it, and then what happens after, and who's responsible for these things? So, when an author wants to produce an audiobook, I would assume an indie author who doesn't have a publisher. You mentioned an audition. Where can you organize that?
So when it comes to casting, you can either, a really popular one if you're in the US, UK, Canada is ACX, which is Audible's creation exchange. So you can put your book up for audition there and you'll get loads of narrators auditioning. A lot of authors I talk to say they get like upwards of 100 auditions like within a couple days. So that's like a big hub you can go to. You can also, though, you can go through Authors Republic. That's another place you can go through. You can also do your own research and try and contact narrators directly. You can check out the Voices to Know listing, which used to be Audiophile. That's a really good vetted talent listing guide. You can try and find narrators on social media. Just do some background research. You can ask authors in your author groups of like narrators that they recommend that they've worked with, who they know like deliver on time and are professional and yada yada. Or you can also go through a production house and they again have like vetted narrators. They're really good at casting. They know the voices that are good for certain books and they can work with you. So those are all really good options. ADX, much as I love it, and I got my start there, and I see the appeal, especially for indie authors, because you can do royalty share deals and there's a lot of stuff going on. The only issue I really have with them is that anybody can make a narrator profile. And there's
Mm.
no vetting. There's no like they don't ask you anything. You don't have to like submit any kind of audio to see if you pass their specs, which you do have to do in order to get your book on Audible. So what we see happen is a lot of people will be like, being an audiobook narrator sounds like fun. And they put up a profile on ACX and they audition. And maybe the author likes their voice, but they audition from their cell phone, have no recording equipment, and don't know any of the engineering or what they're doing. And then they go to record the book, find out it's so much harder than it looks like. I know we make it look easy. It's not. It's not. And then they go and they try and upload files and it gets bounced back and it doesn't work. And then they end up ghosting the author and it's like this whole big nightmare. And we don't want that because we want authors to stay away from virtual voice. So I'm like, I always want it to be as like easy and pleasurable for authors as possible. So ACX can be just a minefield of like scams and newbies who aren't vetted yet. And I also know a lot of more like, I don't want to say more professional, but like narrators who have been doing it for longer don't tend to go to ACX anymore. Doesn't mean you can't find narrators there. Like you absolutely can. It's not a horrible place. I don't want to put people off it entirely, but I just want you to know there are more options than just ACX. And I do think, like, I always think going to social media is a really good idea because you can scan people's pages and you can hear them do different type of genres and like you can find out if they've been working, you can see their body of work. You can easily go to their link tree and find them on Audible, and you can listen to their samples on their websites, and it's all just right there. The only downside with that is that there are so many good narrators who don't do social media. And so you don't want to like lose out on that.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. That's why Voices to Know, I think, is a good place to check out as well, because you can listen to samples, you can see some of their past work, and it's a vetted list that narrators actually have to pay to be on. And what I have found is that like
Ah,
narrators who like if they are willing to pay to be on there, like they're in it. You know, they're
yeah.
not like they're in it. They're pros and they're people you can rely on. Because who you cast is important because it's not just the voice of your book, they're your producer. They're making the whole thing. That's, so you've got to you have to have a lot of trust there.
Okay, so it is a resource that gets updated regularly so that you can
Yeah.
get like the latest. Okay, that's actually very nice. And with social media, I was like a little reluctant because I wasn't sure if it's like rude or something to just go into DMs and contact a
No,
narrator
we
right there.
love it. We love it. Please do. Please slide into our DMs. I've never met a narrator who doesn't love that. Like, please do.
Yeah, because I was like, I might message them and they'll be like, go through official channels, don't bother me here.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no,
and
no.
and you're right. Like a lot of narrators that I love, for example, especially the British one for some reason, they are not on social media, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
follow a couple of people and they are narrators and they are on social media, but they never put their work there. But
yeah.
I think resource that you mentioned, it's very good because I was so far looking mostly at ACX. I don't know if I'll be able to do anything there because I'm not in any of the English speaking countries, but I was just interested in the process, how to do it there.
Yeah.
Does it mean if you're going through ACX, does it mean that you'll have to be exclusive to Audible or no?
No. So one thing I want to say actually about ACX that's very important for indie authors to know is that if as long as you're in one of the countries where it's allowed, you need to claim your book on ACX, where you can go on and you do not have to sign like an exclusive contract, but you have to claim it because again, ACX is not very good with its checks and balances, right? So anybody can claim your book. Anybody. So if you don't claim it, somebody else can. And then they can, especially now with virtual voice, they can claim your book, they can use a virtual voice to voice it and then put it up for sale. And then the only way you know is when you see it up for sale and you force them to take it down, and it's a whole thing. It's ridiculous. So if you have a book, claim it on ACX. You don't have to use ACX, but claim it. Then ACX will give you two different options where you can either be exclusive or non-exclusive. And there's ups and downs to both. But I usually recommend to my clients, if they can afford it, it's so much better to go non exclusive because you have so much more control. You can then put it up in Libby, you can put it up on your website, you can put it up on YouTube, you can put it wherever you want. And you have control of when it goes on sale, how much it costs. Like you have complete control of all these things. And the wider reach you have, the better. But that being said, you can only do that if you're doing a per finished hour deal with a narrator, which is more expensive. If you want to do a royalty share or a royalty share plus, you have to be exclusive. I mean, they want your book to only be available on their platform.
Of course.
They want, but Audible is 64% of audiobook sales happen through Audible. Like it's huge, right? Like they're the biggest piece of the pie. So you want to be there, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have to be everywhere else if you can. So if you can go non-exclusive, I always recommend that.
I did go exclusive with my books, the ebooks themselves, because otherwise you don't get discovered. But when I'm thinking about doing an audiobook, I think almost like 99% I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm not sure I'll even put it up on Audible. I'm not an Audible user myself. I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand how it's very, very expensive. Like you pay the subscription and then you pay a bunch of stuff on top. I'm an Everant user, so I pay a monthly fee and I listen to 3 books a month. And they don't like lock me out completely after 3 books. They still let me listen to some stuff, just not the stuff I really want, kind of. They
Yeah.
they see my list of saved stuff and they're like, well, you listened to enough this month. Wait a bit. And then instead you can listen to other things, which I'm like, I can choose something, no big deal.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, I've heard good things about Everend. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be a bit of a mess because there used to be pirated stuff on there.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
now they separated the two products. I don't know what they're doing with the other one, but I'm using only the one when there's audiobooks. And
Nice. Nice.
yeah, so okay. So let's imagine we did the audition for me as an author, it is important to listen, I guess, like the voice, the intonation, the way the person pronounces things, the emotion and stuff. What else should I be paying attention to?
Yeah. So I always say, especially if you're going through ACX, like the first thing you want to listen for is actually sound quality above
Mm,
everything else, because it's a really good, you can rule people out immediately. Like if you're hearing them swallow, or like if it sounds really echoey, like they're in a bathroom or something, if they're coughing, that's not who you want. That's not who you want. So those are like automatics. I'm like, sound quality, that should be something you should listen for. Yes, the voice, obviously that has to resonate with you. But I always say too, like, I can do any voice out there, right? Like, I can sound like anything. I need to know what you want me to sound like. So if you give really good, like, notes in your audition that's saying, like, my character is 20 years old, she has a British accent, she's feisty, that gives me something I can work with. If I don't have that, all I have is these, like, 300, 400 words, and I'm going to make something up. And maybe it's not the voice you have in your head because I got the character totally wrong because I didn't know anything about them. So, but the voices are important. I always think like a connection to the text too. Like, can you tell they're invested? Do you feel anything when you listen to it? Or is it just like listening to your teacher talk about math? Like, you've got to feel like you're connecting like emotionally. How well they switch between one character to another, like their male voices and their female voices. And if you can put in your audition like two different scenes, like, still keep your audition short, but if you have two short scenes with as many character voices as you can, and if it's a romance book, like, put a spicy scene in your audition, because you need to know if
okay.
your narrator is going to do it in a way where you're like, yes, I like that, or, ooh, that was cringy, no thank you.
Okay.
So
That
it's
actually
important.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
It's good that you said that because I'd be reluctant to send a spicy scene
Yeah,
as
but
an audition.
we're used to it. We're so used to it, and honestly, like, because not every narrator approaches spice in the same way. Like, you have people who get like way into it, and you get people who are like, I'm bored over here while we're talking about it, but that's comfortable for me. And like, both are fine, both are valid, but like the author has to like pick what style she wants or he wants, and be okay with that. So include a spicy scene. We're so used to it. We expect it. It's fine. Or if it's a fantasy book or something, include an action scene. Like, hear how we're going to handle a sword fight, and like, is the narrator going to be too over the top for you, or are they not in it enough? Like, having varying tones is really, really important, and seeing how,
Hmm.
and then if you give any instructions, if you say like, this character's name is pronounced Chad, even though it's spelled with a K or something, and then they don't pronounce it the way you said, like, see if they're the type of narrator who's following instructions, because it just shows you like how invested they are, how much they're paying attention, and what they're going to be like to work with throughout the rest of the production.
Mm,
So, yeah.
okay. Oh, cool. I just learned so many things. That's amazing. Then, if we look at it from your side, when you get an audition with a
Mhm.
sample, what makes you decide that you want to do it or don't want to do it?
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of a time I've not wanted to do it. And that's not really happened. I think I love all books. I don't think I've never gotten an audition that I wasn't like into. I think when I used to go to ACX, because auditions get sent to me now. So I don't go looking for them. They just hit my inbox. But when I used to go looking for them, I was pretty much looking for books that like if I saw it and I'm like, I want to read this. Like, I want to read this. So then that I'm like, I have to audition for that just so I can read the book and get it for free. Like. So like I would pick books and they were usually romantasy. Like those call to me quite heavy because, I love them. Everything about them is so great. So I get really excited when I see a title like that. So yeah, usually, especially if I know it's a character that is going to make me feel things, and we can get lost together, and I know I'll dive in, and that'll be my world for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I like
Okay. Well, you
it.
did say you love all the books, but like statistically, that's not exactly possible. Just out of curiosity, has it ever happened that you were like, I don't know, doing a book and prepping a book? I guess you read it when you prep it. That you like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore, or just not liking specific parts.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. But you know what I like to do in those situations though is it's if I'm in that situation, which is very rare, it's like a challenge where it's like, well, I may not love this book, but I'm going to make it the best damn audiobook ever. We're just going to elevate it. We're just going to make it better by like, and so, then it's a win.
Okay, yeah, I
I'm
mean,
very
you
positive.
approach it as a job. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
job and you
it
approach
is
it
a
as a
job.
job, which
Yeah, it is a job.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like my editor doesn't like all the books that she's getting, but like what can you do? Like it's your job. So the next step would be you get the audition, you get chosen, you agree on the terms, and then the prepping. What's the prepping process? How
Oh yeah, so prep, again, this is going to be really different from narrator to narrator. I am like an extreme prepper. I love prepping my books. So I read it and I go through and I highlight each character. They all get their own color and the color like matches their personality. And I go through and I take notes of their names, and then anytime I see like a descriptor of their voice, like if he's got a growly voice or a gravelly voice, I'll mark that down. Or if she's got a smooth voice, or breathy or whatever. Like anytime I see a word that describes, I write it next to their name. So I go through and do that. If it's a fantasy book, I'll note down like they're an elf, they're a dwarf, like whatever, and I'll put all their accents down. And I'll try and or if it's fantasy, there's spreadsheets involved. It gets really involved. But yeah, I make a note of everything. I go through. If I have a co-narrator, I'll note like which characters we both share so that we can send samples to each other so we both make sure we're approaching them the same way. Then I make a pronunciation MP3 where I go through and I say all the names in order of appearance, especially for fantasy because it gets wild. So I'll make an MP3 of that, and then the author can approve the pronunciation. My co-narrator and I are both on the same page. We're both saying things the same way. And then when it comes time to recording, I am like, I know these people. I know these people inside and out. I know what makes them tick. I know what makes them happy. Know the author. Like I send a form to my authors too, like a full character info sheet that they have to fill out. Well, they don't have to fill out, but they fill it out where it's just like tons of questions like what's their education level, how old are they, 3 adjectives to describe them. If you want to tell me a celebrity you've thought of when you were writing them, great. If not, that's fine too. Just lots of questions to try and really dig into who they are so that when I hit record, I don't have to think about anything anymore. I can just be totally present and like get lost in the telling of the story as opposed to trying to think like, who was that character? What should this voice sound like? I already know, like I hear them as I'm reading it, and then I've done my checkpoint with my authors and like I know what everybody sounds like and I can just let go. And that's what I love. I love it.
Okay, so yeah, it's a process that basically you read and
Yeah.
reread and annotate, and it's a very, very deep work with the book. As you said, like not everybody does that, but
No,
like
no. And that's totally okay because everybody has their own ways. I know narrators who are like ADHD and they have an e-reader read it to them first and then that's how they prep. And I know some people like to do it cold. I have feelings about that. I have feelings about that. But everybody's brain does work differently. So I do what's best for me. People do what's best for them. But ultimately, as long as the book and the author are getting the audiobook that they deserve, then I'm happy.
all right. So then the next step would be you recording it, right? And then you mentioned a bunch of steps that I can't remember, but they seemed like I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So what happens after casting and prepping is, especially if you're not going through a production house, you have what's called a 15-minute checkpoint, which is it's a really deceiving name because it sounds like it's the first 15 minutes of the book. And some, again, narrators handle this totally differently, but for me, how I like to handle it is I don't do the first 15 minutes because you might not have a single character in those first 15 minutes. And I want the author to know because this is the one chance an author has to offer direction because we self-direct as narrators. So the author doesn't get input on how we record. They've heard our audition. We've come back with our notes and any questions we might have. They've filled out all the forms and then they hear this checkpoint. And I'll take usually around like 4 or 5 scenes, couple minutes throughout the book so that every main character they can hear, especially if there's accents involved. And again, if it's a romance book, I will be sending them a spicy scene. I warn them, I let them know it's there. 5 minutes in, prepare yourself. Or if it's an action scene, like I try and do varying tones because then they'll know how I'm approaching the entire book and they can have complete confidence that I'm going to go away, I'm going to record the whole book, and like they know what to expect based on that checkpoint. And if they get the checkpoint and they're like, that character, like you made them breathy, but actually she's snarky and I want her to talk a little bit faster, then I'm like, great, perfect. I redo it, send it, and then off we go. So I sort of coach them on like what to listen for and what to look out for in their checkpoint. And then nothing moves forward until that's been, and on ACX, like your contract isn't really solid until that checkpoint's been approved. Once it's approved, like that's it. We're going. For me, I even do like I do 50% of my payment is due on that checkpoint, and then the rest is due at the end. It can be nice to split payments in two for indie authors as well, because it's like not one big lump sum. But it just really helps, and everybody feels confident that way. And then we move forward, and then the recording happens, and then from there, after recording, it gets proofed by a proofer who will go back and listen. And some narrators claim they can proof themselves. They can't. You cannot proof yourself. It's like, and as authors, you guys will know that too. Like, you don't see your own mistakes, or like, can I just tell you words I have said my whole life? I have found out I say wrong. Had no idea what I didn't know, and now I do. So I'm sure I'll keep finding out. So you send it out to a separate proofer. They'll mark it against the manuscript. They'll listen for like any noises you might have missed or words you mispronounced, and then they'll send us a list. We'll record it. The editor will splice in the corrections. We call them pickups. Sometimes my pickup packets are huge. Sometimes they're small. It is what it is. And then after that's been done, then they get edited and mastered. And then we get our MP3s, and then they get uploaded to ACX or to wherever. If you're going wide, that's a whole other, you can use sites like In Audio or Authors Republic or whatever to get it up in other platforms. And you upload it, and then it goes through a QA session with ACX that takes about 10 business days. And that it's really random. You cannot pick when your book hits Audible. Like, you upload it, and then one day, you don't know when, you get an email that says it's live. And you're like, great. I've had one go through within 24 hours, and I've had ones that go through in like 3 weeks. Like, you just don't know.
Okay.
You're at their whim.
Well, yeah, I'm used to the KDP unpredictability so far, so I
Mm-hmm.
guess it's nothing new.
Yeah.
And these people, the
Prefer.
proofer,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
want to say proofreader, but it's not reader.
Yeah, well, it's the
So
same. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so proofer and the editor are someone who works with you. So I, as an author, don't have to bother searching for them, or is it?
No,
How's it
no, no, no.
happen?
So when you hire a narrator, we're your narrator, but we're also your producer. So we handle
Okay.
all the post production. After casting and after that checkpoint, there's nothing else you have to do until you get the final files. And then I really love it when my authors listen to them first, because they might catch something my proofer missed, because that can happen. Like, that can definitely happen. We're all human. Like, we think we catch everything, and then we don't. Something gets missed. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. And I like to have like a second set of ears on it. So yeah, the author will then listen to it, and then it's not until they approve it that it then goes to the QA.
Okay. Well, it seems like I thought it would be a bit more complicated process for the author, but I'm getting
It's not.
okay. So
Yeah,
it's
no, it's really seems so overwhelming, because you've got like, there are a lot of steps, but a lot of those are ours. And I think
yeah.
I think the hardest part for an author, I would imagine, is the letting go of your book baby and handing it to somebody else to interpret and to like bring out to the world and like breathe life into. And I mean, that's got to be like pretty nerve-wracking, which is why casting is so important. It's so important you have somebody that you trust and you know is going to like love your book as much as you do, because when your narrator loves it, the listeners love it. It all comes through. So it's important. It's a really nice relationship. Like, it's a really nice relationship between author, narrator, and listener. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah, I think, and I actually really like the idea of this 15-minute checkpoint because,
Yeah,
yeah, because you cast people, and then when you think that you give them your book and that's it, and you have to wait for the final result, and I think it's a little nerve-wracking. But then hearing
sure.
something that
Yeah,
just reassures you that, oh, okay,
yeah.
I chose the right people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, it is nice. And it does give you like at least some control, right? Like, it is good. And then it gives us the confidence too to be able to move forward knowing we're doing what you want us to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk a little about like the different modes of audiobooks. So there is the single narration, there is
Mm.
the dual narration, and the duet narration that has
Yep.
been super popular
Yep.
lately. Um, have you tried like all of them, and do
Mm.
you have a favorite there?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yes, I do. I do single, dual, duet, and multicast. I do it all. I they all have their benefits. I have found that I really like having a co-narrator because my job is really isolating. Like I'm in this little padded room, right, all the time, and so it is nice to have somebody to work with. And I've been really fortunate that most of my co-narrators have been amazing. I yesterday or day before yesterday, I had like two back-to-back meetings. Like I got to meet with Sean Masters for because we're doing a duet project together, and then like 30 minutes later, I met with Damian Murphy because we've got a dual project together. And I was like, this is so nice. I feel so social. But it's great because you get to be collaborative and you get to work together, and it's really nice. And I know people really enjoy it. With solo narration though, like I get to make all the shots and I'm only reliant on myself, and like there's some freedom in that, and that's really nice. But I think they're all good. I know I've been seeing so much stuff on social media lately about like calling for only duets, and that's been really bothering me because it's it's very presumptuous that your preference is everybody's preference. And just for the record, despite what we see on social media, solo narration is still the most popular form of narration amongst listeners. Now, in romance, duet is definitely the thing, and I can see why. It's really immersive. It's great for marketing. It's really good. I love duet, and performing duet is super fun. It's a skill. It is a skill to sit here and talk to yourself and reply to somebody who's not here. Like that is a skill. But the thing about duet that people have to remember, especially listeners, is that they are expensive to make because I'm recording on a different continent from my co-narrator. We're in our own space, and then an editor has to splice us together as we're talking and make us sound like we're in the same room together, and that's not easy. And it's very time consuming, so it's more expensive. So our editors charge us more, so we then have to charge our clients more, or else we can end up paying out of pocket to make somebody else's audiobook. So it's more expensive. Do you get more audiobook sales and make more money? Possibly. So it's a hard one. But dual works really well with multiple POVs, and it's a valid option, and a lot of people like it. So despite what you see on social media, a lot of people do like dual. A lot of people do like solo. Um, Duet does feel like king at the minute, and that's okay. And multicast and sound effects and all that is, we're seeing that as the evolution of audiobooks. It is getting more and more cinematic for your ears.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about the multicast ones.
Mm.
Adore actually. Like I listened to what was the last thing? The Night Hunter series by
Ooh,
Janine
that
Frost.
sounds good. That
Like
sounds
the
right up my street.
uh, Halfway to the Grave, I think. Yeah, it's a romance, but it's a vampire romance. So like it's really interesting. It's full of
Nice.
action. It's really hot. The vampire is British and like he speaks with a
Yes.
yeah, it's perfect. It's really perfect. I love the paranormal setting and the fantasy setting with multicast is amazing. But I can tell you that like most of the books that I loved, I listened to a ton of audiobooks. Most of the books that I loved are actually single narrator books. Like I don't have because I listen to a ton of historicals
Yeah.
and I listen to a ton of also like not a ton, but some traditionally published books which are single narrator. And I don't care really. I don't mind.
I have to say, like, one of the things that's really unique about audiobooks is they're so intimate because you're one person listening to it. It's not like watching a movie or a TV show where, like, you're watching it with other people. Like, you've got ear, but like, we're in your head when we're talking. And like, I'm so conscious of that. Like, I'm really close to somebody's ear, and it's just me and that one other person, and we're in the story together. And when I listen to an audiobook, I get so comfy with the narrator. And then when it switches to someone else, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? like, what? It's like, as a listener, I prefer solo narration to listen to myself, but I can also really appreciate dual and duet, and I like them, and I wouldn't not listen to one because it's that. But my preference is solo. I get comfy with a narrator, and I'm like, just stay with me.
Yeah, I really don't care as long as the book is good. I don't care
Yeah,
how it's been narrated. But
yeah.
it just so happened that I only listened to one duet so far. That was Lights Out. It was great, but like
Yeah,
if it was narrated in dual or even in single, I wouldn't give a
it would
damn.
still
Like
be
it's
great.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would still be a great book.
yeah.
Did I understand correctly? Is that when you're recording in a duet, you are still not communicating with your narrator while you're recording? You're still doing it separately?
Totally separately. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Because I had a notion for some reason that you kind of not maybe even have to be in one room to do it.
No.
Okay.
I sit here. Where's my click? I sit here with my clicker, and
Hmm.
then I'll say my line, and then when it's his line, I click this, and it makes a big spike in the wavelength, so my editor
Right, so
can
you can cut it.
see. Yeah, my editor knows exactly where to place our lines, and then we just keep going. So I'm literally like, he said, like, but he's not. And like, it is a skill. And it's super fun, but occasionally, like I said, I just met with Sean, and like we'll go over things to make sure that our pacing's the same, our tone's the same, our we're approaching it in the same way, so that when it does get spliced together, it's seamless and it sounds good. So there is like an extra step of prep involved with that, which is why a lot of narrators will charge like a dual prep fee or a duet prep fee, because there's extra steps involved, and you prep the whole book, but you only get paid for the portion you record and things like that. But yeah, no, we're not. It can happen. Like it can happen that, like, especially if you're a big publisher, you can rent out a studio and fly narrators to be in the same room. But more often than not, and sometimes they'll do it live together, or sometimes you'll get husband and wife teams or boyfriend girlfriend teams, and they can do it next to each other. But a majority of the duets you listen to, they're not they're not in the same state.
Wow, that just
Yeah,
make it sound so much harder. Yeah, that's really a lot of work. I understand why they're so expensive.
yeah.
And if we talk about the costs, I mean, of course, you cannot give like a concrete estimation, but let's imagine, I don't know. Okay, let me be selfish for a second. So I
Yeah.
have a novella that
Nice.
is 36,000 words. It's a
Okay.
Christmas book, so there's
I love
only
it.
two main characters. I don't do I choose yet.
Ooh.
36,000 words, and I would like to make an audiobook out of it. So, what do you think like the cost estimation would be on that? If I want, well, let's say dual narration.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take your word count and I'm going to divide it by 9,300, because everything in the audiobook world is done by per finished hour of audio, which means exactly like to the minute how long your audiobook is. And 9,300 is the average words spoken in an hour. So anytime you get a quote from anyone, they take your word count, they divide it by 9,300, and that's going to give you like a rough estimate of how long your book will be. Now, depending on the
Hmm.
narrator, depending again on the genre, like if you have a lot of thoughtful scenes, like we read those slow. There's, the pacing gets different. If it's an action scene, we are reading that super fast, and like that book's going to be shorter. So your book at 36,000 words is going to be about 3.9 hours long, so close to 4 hours. So I would take that, I would say 4 just to estimate higher, and then we could be pleasantly surprised that it's cheaper. So for a lot of, I would say dual and single narration, the cost is going to be about the same, because
Hmm.
my editor doesn't really charge me much more for a dual than they do for a single. So I can keep my rate the same. The only thing I add on is that dual prep fee.
Fee. Yeah.
I talk for a living. So we do 4, and then like for me, my rate is $275 per finished hour. This is going to vary depending on who you hire. So $250 is the SAG-AFTRA minimum rate that they suggest people do. So it's what a lot of people start as. You are going to find narrators who will do it much cheaper than that. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would value themselves correctly, because it is a lot of work. And the editing cost is going to be half that at least. So they deserve to get paid, but not everybody can value themselves, or they think they need to charge less to get more work. Stop it if that's you. And obviously you're going to get people who charge a lot more than that. Like Teddy Hamilton's not charging 250, right? So there's like a broad spectrum. So me myself, I charge 275 at the minute for like a dual. So that brings you to 1,100 plus the dual prep fee. So that's 1,200, and then it gets split up into 2 payments.
Hmm.
So that's about how much it'll cost. So you take your word count, divide it by 9, get your quote for what they charge per finished hour, and then that's it. You'll find that, so there's royalty share deals, which are zero out of pocket. and you split royalties. You each get 20%. You can guess who gets the rest. There's Royalty Share Plus, which is like a mix of the two. So you split royalties, but you still pay out of pocket. It's going to be less than like the big per finished hour rate, but you're paying them, and that the money that you're paying them on top of royalties goes to the outsourcing cost. So it pays for the editor. Now, for me, I don't do royalty share deals because there are times when it's like I'll pay my editor $125 per finished hour. I don't get paid anything. And then if the royalties don't pay me back, I've just been paid to have that audiobook made. So
Yeah.
I no longer take that gamble. And what I found is that if your sales are so high that it's worth it for the narrator, it is very unlikely worth it for you as the author to have to go non-exclusive. Or
Mm.
exclusive, sorry, exclusive.
Yeah.
So you're so much better off paying a per finished hour, keeping those royalties, and like going wide. You'll save money in the long run. So I'm always hesitant to take royalty share deals because it's either not in the author's best interest or it's not in mine. But a royalty share plus is a little bit different. And the nice thing about that is your narrator is more likely to help you market your book because they have a vested interest in its sales, because they're getting royalties as well. And again, that's something you want to look at in casting, is if your narrator is going to help you in marketing. It's not part of our job, it's not in our contracts, it's not something we have to do, but a lot of us do it just because it's beneficial for everybody. Like, we want the reviews, we want people to know we're working, we want people to see and show off our skills. And also, I end up loving every author I work with. Like, some of them have legitimately become my family. And like, I want to promote your book. I want people to see it. And like, so we'll do that. And it is something you want to think about when you're casting, is like, is this narrator going to help me reach new listeners? And is that worth, like maybe the extra few dollars I pay for it or not? So yeah, it's just another thing to consider.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think I'm starting to save from this moment
Nice.
on. I'm starting to save money for the production of the audiobook because I don't think I will have any energy to actually write once I give birth. So I'm like,
No.
I'll stick to admin things probably. So marketing, and maybe I'll make an audiobook because like I feel
Yeah.
sorry for my little Christmas story because it's only marketable during very short period of time. Maybe an
Yeah.
audiobook would be nice. So yeah,
I
we'll
think
see.
novellas are so good, and especially holiday ones. They sell so 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 well in audio. They really really do. So yeah, you definitely
Yeah,
should look
and
into it.
that's
Yeah,
my idea. Like I
yeah,
mostly so far have released only novellas, so I didn't have attention span for full books. So like, okay. And I love listening to novellas as
yeah.
well because I sometimes I look at the audiobook and it's like, I want to listen to that, but I'm like, 13 hours, who has energy for that? And then I see something
Your
5 hours
fantasy
long.
girls.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I used to have enough attention for that, but now I just do very slowly, but I chip at the books very slowly, one chapter at a time, so it's fine.
Yeah.
As an actor, like you are primarily an actor, do you think not reading, narrating audiobooks is like fulfilling everything that you wanted to get from the acting career? Don't you want to act again, like really go on a stage?
No, and which is totally bizarre, but I it's so fulfilling because now not only do I get to play the lead role, I get to play all the side characters and the villain and like the hero and the man. Like, I get to be all of it, and I love it. I think, I mean, the stage is magic. And it comes with like a certain indescribable feeling that is lovely. But audiobooks, I mean, I narrate live all the time and I get a very similar rush when I do that. But I so deeply love books and I so deeply love audiobooks that I feel like I am stretching acting muscles I never knew existed before this. And like, because we have to convey through our voice alone all these emotions. And like, when you're on stage or in front of the camera, like, you can use your face, you can use your body language, you can use all these other things to convey. But what I'm doing, I can only use my voice to make you feel what I am feeling. And like that, yeah, I can't describe it. Audiobook narration is absolutely fulfilling as an actor. Like, it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. I love it. Yeah. Besides being a parent, don't tell my kids I just said that.
Don't worry, don't worry. My podcast is marked as explicit, so your kids will not see it anyway. No worries, because I curse occasionally, so
I've gotten authors be like, "Are you okay with swearing?" I'm like, "I have narrated filth. We are okay."
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought like yeah, I know some podcasters, my friends, who try not to swear because you want like the widest audience, for your podcast. And
Yeah.
then today I was listening to Candy Steiner and Gianna Darling just saying things that I have no idea how they got through YouTube filters. Like it's like, okay, maybe I should go worse, like we could say more things. Okay. Well, actually, it's interesting that you said about acting. What I thought is that voice acting would be more limiting than usual acting, but apparently it's a challenge in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, I love it. And I go big for character voices, and I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, I find so much like all of my characters sound distinctly different. I don't go over the top. Like I'm true to who they are. I don't like put on a funny voice just for the sake of it, but I have loved that. I have loved jumping into all these different characters. And I mean, I do it within the span of seconds. It's like I can be the person attacking and the person scared all at the same time. And it's just no, it's amazing. Like in no other form of acting do you get to do that other than in voiceover. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
awesome.
did not think about it this way that
Yeah.
yeah, you get to play all the characters. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a really cool benefit.
Yeah.
And in terms of like linguistics, like are there accents that you love the most? Can you do all the accents?
All the no. No one can do anybody who says they can is lying. I can do a lot of accents. But I can't do as many as some, and I'm always very hesitant to say I can do an accent if I can't. I have turned roles down before where I'm like, I think you would be better off finding somebody who's comfortable because I don't like to think about an accent because if
Mm.
I'm thinking about it, then my performance suffers. Because again, I don't like to think when I'm behind the microphone. I like to just let it come out. And if it's an accent I do not know very well, I have to stop and think. And I don't want to do that. So my accents, because I live in the UK, my English RP accent is really, really good. My London accent's good. Like my kids are British, my husband's British. I am surrounded. So like it's basically my second language at this point. So like my British accents are really good. My Scottish accent, my Irish accent, like those I have all of those down pat. My American Southern accent, Texas. There's the regional stuff. Like it's hard to say like I can do a Southern accent because there's like 30, but
Mm.
I can do a general Southern accent. I can do a Texan accent. Like there's certain ones I can do really well. My native accent, I'm really fortunate, is like I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I don't have much of an accent for Americans. It's very standard, but I can do like Midwest and East Coast and things like that. But what's crazy about the UK specifically, like whenever anybody asks, like, can you do an English accent? It's like, which one? Because there are so many. Even where I live, like you go 5 miles that way, the accent's totally different than 5 miles that way. And it's nuts, all these different regional accents. So even like when you say Scottish and Irish, like those are full countries. Their accents are fully different, like 10 miles down the road. So you have to be careful, I think, when you say you can do it, but just be specific and kind of try and deliver what people are expecting. But I've loved that. I could not do a Scottish accent or an Irish accent at all before I started this. And I got a dialect coach and I got trained and I dove deep and to figure it out. And hopefully I'll get to do that again for more accents because they are fun. I mean, they are fun.
Yeah, yeah, I love listening to different types of accents. I cannot do any without sounding like I'm mocking people, unfortunately. And myself, I have a very like a floaty accent. It sometimes appears, sometimes it doesn't. I can sound super Russian at some point and sometimes not at all. It's really, really weird, but like, yeah, I really enjoy, especially I feel so proud when I understand an accent that I couldn't understand before. It's so nice.
Yeah.
I have a little question that I'm not sure how to even phrase it because
Okay.
I cannot explain this, but I've heard something about when an author is editing a book, they have to make sure the dialogue sounds believable, that's how to
Hmm.
speak, and make sure I don't know, basically not just to check for grammar or beautiful prose or whatever, but the rhythm, like the rhythm
Mm.
of text.
Yeah.
I don't know how to learn this at all, but I find myself reading my stuff out loud
Yeah.
and being like,
Smart.
this does not sound good. Like I have to rearrange the words or something because in my head it doesn't sound okay.
Right.
The thing is, does that like affect your work when you feel like the rhythm is wrong or the rhythm is exactly right or something?
That is just part of our job as narrators, is if it doesn't flow, it's our job to make it sound like it does. Very rarely have I have come across it, and we just do our best, and I think it works. Like we kind of know what to listen for, and we know how to sort of adjust it. Sometimes it's a matter of just ignoring punctuation and kind of setting our own pacing, but sometimes a book is written in a prose that is just beautiful. And I was so lucky to do a 3-book series, a fantasy series that was like the flow of it was so beautiful. And it's some of my best work because she did all the heavy lifting for me and I just got to like let it I just it just carried me away and it was so nice. And the book I'm recording right now is really similar. It's like it's written in a way that's like you can feel the flow of the language and it makes my job so easy because I'm like I just get to follow, like you've set the pace for me and I just get to follow it. And it's nice. And I will say like every book and especially like genres have their own rhythm and their own pacing, and it's really obvious with something like a thriller, right, where it's like really slow and tentative and like you're building up that like something really scary is about to happen. And like it's really obvious in thrillers and but like a lot of especially romance and fantasy, like, they all have their own rhythm. And that's why it was so hard for me to tell you like what genre I like to narrate the best, because it's like sometimes I'm in the mood for like that fast-paced zombie book and other times I'm in the mood for like that nice flowery stuff. It's like they're all good and they're all unique. And I don't think, even if you feel like your flow's not good, a good narrator will make it sound like it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Okay, it's nice to know that it's something that can be helped if you are still not good at this.
I recommend everybody always listen to their book out loud before they publish it. Even if you just have an e-reader read it out to you before, because you will notice things when it's spoken out loud. And I always say like narrators make the best proofers because I catch all the typos that you missed because I'm reading it out loud. So it's just really obvious. Like it's just right there. And so I'll flag
Yeah.
them and I'll change them but there's something about reading it out loud. So if you can read it out loud, that's great. If you can have an e-reader read it out loud or a friend read it to you or something, I think it's a really good step to do before you publish and before you try and get an audiobook done,
Yeah.
because you'll just catch so much of that. We don't mind catching it's so no, there's no such thing as a book without a pickup, right? Like they're going to exist. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't ever mind when I see one. I'm like, oh, yep, human error. It's fine. Off we go. But I think that's a really
Yeah,
good like author
definitely.
hack.
I agree completely. I read out loud when I edit, I read out loud when I proofread. Since I'm writing novellas, I'm like, I can proofread myself. I'll hire someone when it's a full book. I feel like I try to be a one-man band at the moment, but if I could do my own cover, I would. I just can't. I mean, in terms of rhythm, you said like different genres have different rhythm, and I started thinking about it, and not even that, the subgenres, like the historical ones sound so different
Mhm.
from the contemporaries and the authors
Yes.
themselves. Like if I'm listening to BK Borison book, I will know it without actually looking at the title because she has
Yeah.
her own flow.
Yep.
Yeah, well, all right. Just a tiny little curiosity question because I try to drag everybody to the dark side. Have you ever thought about writing a story yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've had a lifelong love of books and I've loved the idea of writing a book, and I have written things and I do it as like for my eyes only. I keep thinking like when narration slows down, that is what I would like to dive into, because I have so many ideas and like I have some things that are already like plotted and ready. The only real problem is narration does not seem to be slowing down, which is a good problem to have. But for now, I'm so, the way my schedule is, I'm very busy narrating books. And then I have two neurodivergent children and they take a lot of my time. So I have like zero free minutes in a day, but I'm writing it up here. So one day, one day I admire authors so much, not just for like your skill and talent, but also your just I just think you're so brave putting it out there and getting it out in the world. And yeah, you guys are you're heroes. You're absolute like writer warriors.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually expecting you to say no, no, I'm like the
No,
narration
I
is my
love it.
passion.
Well, it is. It is. I feel like it'll be like one of those things when I'm like I'm 90 years old and nobody wants to listen to my old lady voice anymore. Then I'll be like, and it'll
And
be
that's
like
where you
super
can switch.
smutty.
Yep, why not? Um, okay, well, before I let you go, usually I ask authors about writing advice, but I think, and I don't think any of my listeners are audiobook narrators. I don't know, but the podcast is targeted at authors. So, is there anything you would like to say, like to advise to a new author who's maybe, I don't know, reluctant to produce their first audiobook? They think maybe like they're not popular enough, they barely sell anything, and they're just, maybe they have the money, but they're just worried that like nobody will listen to it, or is it worth it or something?
Uh, well, I think an audiobook is always worth it. But having said that, they don't always pay you back. And I'd like to tell you, like I'd like to sit here and be like, yes, absolutely. Like, it's a multi-billion dollar business. For some authors, their audiobooks do better than their print and ebooks combined. And it can be, but that's not always the case. And I don't like to advocate for people spending money if it's not the right choice. So it's a really it's a tough one for me to say. Think one of the best things you can do really is join author Facebook groups. There's a really good one for marketing your audiobook wide on Facebook that I kind of send authors to because it's a supportive community and they all know about audiobooks and how much it costs and how much you can make and things like that. And you can sort of search your questions there. So I think that's a good place to research and start. I have on my website, I have a webinar that's like an hour and a half long and it goes over like everything you and I just talked about, but like in a little bit more detail. And it's free. People can download it and watch it at their own time. My only advice is like if you want an audiobook made, it's absolutely possible. There's nothing holding you back. I know I talked a lot about the sort of things to watch out for in ACX, but having a royalty share audiobook done where you don't pay anything out of pocket is not a bad option. If you listen to the auditions and you hear somebody you click with, which you might, there are seasoned narrators who do that because they like to have a steady royalty paycheck come in every month. So it's not impossible. You just have to do your due diligence and check them out and make sure that they are somebody you can trust to do your thing. It's not a bad option. The only thing I will say, and you know this about me already, is like do not go for a virtually voiced audiobook. No
Yeah.
audiobook is better than a virtually voiced one. Listeners really, 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 really don't like it. And there's a legitimate fear that when you do that, you are feeding them your book that they can then take throw into their machine learning stuff and steal your book
Hmm.
and put it into their own AI stuff. So it's not good for anybody. It's harmful for the community and you won't get a nice product out of it. So anything's better than a virtual voice book. If you want an audiobook made, it's not as scary as you think. It might be more affordable than you think. And also I would avoid places like Fiverr and any of like because I have seen so many people now say that they got quoted like $30,000 to make an audiobook and then that just puts them
What?
off forever and you're like, "No, that's not right." So, avoid places that aren't like audiobook specific when looking for your narrator. In my opinion, like don't come at me people. Because it's my opinion. But yeah, if you want an audiobook made, there's no reason you can't or shouldn't. And Kickstarter is like more popular than ever for making audiobooks. So many. So like I'm thinking actually a majority of the indie projects I work on are fully funded from Kickstarter. So don't rule that out. And there's a lot of information now out there. Megan Carver, find her on Thorns and Roses, I think is her Instagram handle. She does a whole Kickstarter course or advice with indie authors, and it's that is also an option if you want to hire somebody that's like a bit more expensive or out of your budget. Start saving, do it, because I mean the experience alone of hearing your characters come to life is, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people I have seen just cry, and you get this like, like it's really cool to hear your worlds like come to life and get to share that with people, and it's just so special.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
The last administrative thing to do is to just tell the listeners where they can find you, websites and socials.
Okay. Yeah, so you can find me. My website is samanthanorburyvo.com, nice and simple. And you can find me on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Threads. And it's just Samantha Norbury, narrator. I really like working with indie authors, and I do a lot of these talks, and it's very fulfilling for me to help. If you have questions about audiobooks, you can DM me and I will write you back. Like, I'm not never that busy that I can't take a few minutes to like email you back. So feel free to reach out with questions. That's really not a problem.
Yes, and if you have missed this before, you are totally free to contact narrators on social
Yes.
media, slide in their DMs, and ask if they want to audition, or just like tell them that you like their work and you'd like them to do your book.
We love it. A lot of us have author interest forms. Like, if on our link tree, you can go there and there's like a Google form you can fill out, and it will ask all the questions that we need to know, and you'll get a good sense of things right off the bat. So it's nice. I love it. Every narrator I know loves it. Like, we're not going to say, no, your book doesn't sound good. We're not going to do that. I promise we're not going to do that. We're on socials to like have a community and meet people, but also because we're hoping you will reach out to us. So please, please, please do.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
I
you.
have learned enormous amount of information and it was so much fun.
It was
Like
great.
it was so much fun to talk to you. Thank you and good luck with all your
Thank you.
projects.
Thank you, and good luck with you.
Thanks. Bye. If you like what you hear so far, please consider subscribing and tune in for the next episode. If you have burning questions about writing you'd like to have answered, head to my Instagram page at kkalbabooks and leave me a message. Or use my email k.k.alba.books@gmail.com. If you'd like your favorite author to answer your question on my show, again, head to my Instagram or email me to let me know which author you'd like me to invite, and I'll try to get over my anxiety and do it. On the other hand, if you're an author who's published at least one book, traditional or indie, and you'd like to become a guest, well, you know what to do by now. Message me and let's get to know each other.